thing around my neck, and earrings that have Mariam Kaba's phrase, "Hope is a discipline," written on them. My work in the College of Nursing is to disrupt and decenter whiteness and white feminism from bioethics and health professions, research, education, and practice. I do this through centering critical socio-political theories, such as radical queer Black feminism, disability justice, trans liberation, reproductive justice, design justice, prioritizing especially indigenization and abolition, and then also promoting community care, both in my work, in the classroom, and in the communities that I exist in. My goal really is to just dismantle structures, including nursing, medicine, and bioethics that were created and upheld by whiteness and white feminism's oppressions, and white feminism fits there in nursing mostly, rather than the others. It's impossible to do that from the inside, and I am on the inside. And I think it's well past time that white folks, when we're doing this for especially indigenization and racial justice, that we need to cede power and move aside and step down from those positions of power. And each time I give a talk like this, usually it's something run by white men, and they throw a fit. And I don't think that's going to happen here, which is really nice.
Thank you. Next, we have Dr. Daryl.
Good evening, everyone, and hello. Once again, I'm Daryl Pendleton. I wear several hats at the university. I am an administrator and faculty in the College of Dentistry. I'm the Associate Dean for Student Affairs and Associate Dean for Diversity Affairs. I'm also a Clinical Associate Professor in the Department of Pediatric Dentistry. I'm also the Executive Director of the Campus Urban Health Program. The Urban Health Program is the campus's recruitment and retention program for underrepresented populations in the health sciences, specifically Black/African-American, Hispanic/Latinx, and Indigenous/Native American. I've been at UIC for 18 years. Prior to that, I was at Marquette for 10 years, Marquette University in Milwaukee, and worked also with the Medical College of Wisconsin and the University of Wisconsin Health Sciences programs. Most of my career, in fact, all of my career has been in academia. I am a clinician, I'm a dentist by training, but I spent most of my career in academia, a lot of it in administration, focusing on the workforce, the healthcare workforce, recruiting students for health careers, helping those students prepare themselves for the health professions trainings programs, whether it's medicine, dentistry, pharmacy, nursing, public health, applied health sciences. And once they get into the program, it's providing the students with everything that they need to get through the program. So I'm very happy to be here today. I'd like to thank MAPS for inviting me, and I'm very interested in assisting any of you who are interested in health careers or would like to know more about the health career training programs here at UIC.
Thank you. Dr. Joan Marc.
Hi, Dr. Joan Marc, and I'm very excited to be here tonight. I'm a recent graduate of the College of Medicine, graduated in May 2020, and I was a MAPS liaison actually for SNMA for a couple of years, so it's great to be here with MAPS tonight. Really interested in mentoring, in seeing Black, Latinx, Native American people, students, or from whatever walks of life, kind of go forward from this really long history of subjugation in this country. I'm currently working with the Urban Health Program, the College of Medicine program, within the urban health program as I apply to residency this year, and I'll be applying to internal medicine and pediatrics programs. And I do envision a career for myself that will focus in part on increasing the numbers of underrepresented students in medicine, because we definitely need that more diverse workforce to really properly represent the diversity of our nation. So I'm excited to be here with you guys tonight and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Next, we have Dr. Faiza Kalam.
Hello, everyone. I'm Faiza Kalam. I just finished my PhD at UIC and joined Northwestern team, but I still consider myself like UIC. Somehow, I didn't finish all the work with UIC yet. So I joined Northwestern like a couple months ago. I'm so excited to answer your questions. When Aisha sent me some questions, it made me think about, these things, if someone told me some of these answers before I start my PhD, my path would be different now. So I would be so happy to answer any question related to your path. So currently I'm a postdoc at Northwestern. I finished my PhD at UIC in nutrition department. My focus was on obesity research and fasting. Now, my focus had been shifted a little bit to add cancer arm to it. So I'll be working around obesity, cancer, and fasting at the same time. I started a business when I moved to the US. So I consider myself minority because I'm a new immigrant, woman with hijab. And also like my English was a second language, and it's still a second language. That was a barrier when I started like school at UIC. But yeah, here we go. I just finished my PhD and things are much easier now and clear. And I will be happy to make it clear for you guys if you have any questions.
Next, we have Jasmine Arrington.
Hello, my name's Jasmine. Nice to meet you all. Happy to be here. So I am a joint degree student. So I'm getting my MD and my Master of Public Health in the Community Health Sciences concentration. So I am doing my degree in 6 years, and I'm in year 4 right now. Just started my time in the School of Public Health in the fall. So if you have any questions related to the medical school experience, the path to getting there, anything about public health, I'm more than happy to support you in any way that I can. I'm interested in obstetrics and gynecology, so that's what I'll be applying to residency for when I do go back to medical school. Very passionate about women's health, trauma, health inequities, and just serving Black and Latinx communities. I also do clinical research. So if you have any questions around what that could look like or what it's like to do research as a student, I'm also happy to support. I also engage in a lot of mentoring outside of UIC. So I teach STEM to Black and Latinx high school students, largely CPS students. And then I also do mentoring with the Latin School of Chicago, which is my alma mater. So if you're ever looking for a mentor, I'm more than happy, or if you have questions, I'm very accessible. So I'll make sure I leave my contact information at the end.
Okay, so thank you to everyone for introducing yourselves. I'm going to hand it over to Nikki, who will start us off with a few questions. And then if any participants or if any guests have questions for each other or for other speakers, then you are more than welcome to ask.
Nikki, we can't hear you.
Well, while she reconnects, let me see if I can pull up our document. Okay, so one of the things that we wanted to ask all of our guests was, considering the position where you are at now, what was the most difficult thing for you to get to that point?
I'm happy to jump into that question.
Sure.
So for me, I think the biggest hurdle that I had to get over was imposter syndrome. Um, I don't know how familiar people are, but pretty much it's the idea that you don't believe you belong where you are, or you don't feel like you're capable, or like you feel like you're not qualified to be in the space that you want to be in, essentially. And I think, as a Black woman, in undergrad, I would have advisors and they'd be like, oh, you shouldn't be pre-med, you should drop it. Or, if you get into medical school, like, you'll be lucky if you get into a Caribbean school. Or I feel like along my journey, I had people who were very supportive of me, but people who were kind of in positions of like influential social power, being like my advisors or professors, were the people who were discouraging me. And there came a time in undergrad where I actually kind of stepped back. I like withdrew from my organic chemistry class, and I was like, I don't know if I can get into medical school. Maybe I should just get a PhD. Maybe I should do a master's in something else. Like, all these people are telling me that like my grades aren't high enough and all these things. And I just think I kind of went through the whole like soul searching for like what to do with my life. And ultimately I realized, I was like, okay, I have these gifts. There are things that are unique to me. And even if I don't have a 4.0 GPA, I have something to contribute. Like, there is a change that I want to see in the world, and I don't think anyone can do that for me. And so, through mentoring and having positive people in my circle, I was able to kind of get past that, and I got back on track to go to medical school. And even in medical school, like, there have definitely been times, especially like my first semester, where I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't be a doctor. Like, all these things, like, went through the tears, all of that. And I say this to say that I am so confident in who I am now. I'm confident in what I contribute, in my worth and my value. But imposter syndrome, I think that mental block can really hold you back if you don't really look inward and look outside of things and measurements that other people put in the world for you. Instead, you have to say, my metric is not someone else's measuring stick. It's who am I? What do I want to accomplish? And kind of move in from there.
And I guess I'll go ahead and piggyback on that, because I would say I had a similar type of journey with imposter syndrome. And I still even feel uncomfortable calling it imposter syndrome, because it's just like, it's just self-doubt, a lot of self-doubt, which I was actually very lucky that I had, I think, more people that were kind of believed in me more than I really believed in myself. And so I would, tend to be the one to go into the room like, okay, I already know that I'm not gonna, get in. And they would be the ones to tell me, no, actually, I think you have a really good chance, or at least, a chance. And so, yes, I think mentoring was really important for me in terms of getting past that self-doubt. I still definitely suffer from it a lot. Like I said, I'm in the process of applying for residency now. And, as you go up in these, in this career, it just gets more and more, I guess, rarefied, if that's the term. And so you're just around people who have done so much, and it feels like So many people just seem to have these really flawless records, and I have anything but that. And so it's hard sometimes to come into this, to move through this, I don't know, milieu of really, really accomplished people. And even though I've accomplished a lot, to not let those failures that I've had along the way be, weigh me down. So still have good mentors in my corner, still have cheerleaders that are absolutely helping me along. But self-doubt, I would say, is for sure the biggest hurdle I've had.
Mine is similar, lots of self-doubt, but there were some parts that were inverse to that. So I'm white, which means that's my experience moving through the world is really quite different. But along with that, I was hiding my disabilities for decades and hiding gender for decades, having to claim to be something I was not, because I thought that if I didn't, then the next step was probably death. I also had to soften what all of my work is in order to move through each step to get to different places. So even to get here, I had to soften what it was that I do to get in. And I came out as a disabled person right around the time that I came to Chicago. And then a few years ago, while here, I came out as trans, non-binary, and queer. And around that time, I also decided to stop following the culture of what nursing wants for niceness, I guess, in attempting to address our own oppressions that we do onto people. And so since I did that, and I haven't given up on doing that yet, although it's rough, this most difficult thing, I think, for me has been the last year and a half of unrelenting ableism, transmisogyny, and just tremendous white supremacist responses to my work from the folks here at UIC.
Yeah, I will be the last on this question. I feel related to that self-doubt somehow, but at the same time, it happened in a different way. Like when I finished my PhD, I felt, okay, what's next now? Then I figured out I have to start, like, I can't say new career, but like, okay, this is how we start academia. PhD is the first step. Then we have to move up, like postdoc, then the assistant professor, then associate. So when I started like looking for positions while I was still a PhD student, I applied for 3 main places: Northwestern, Columbia, New York, and Harvard. And I remember like people around me saying, you're not gonna get there. Are you stupid? Like you're applying only for high ranking schools? That's ridiculous. You would never get any of these. And like, fortunately, I got the 3 of them. The only one I didn't make it to the end was Harvard, but I did 3 interviews, then I didn't get the last one. But like Columbia and Northwestern, like we're almost competing. Like the folks at Columbia saying, hey, we will do this and that for you. What about joining the team? Then Northwestern were emailing me, did you take the decision? Did you take your final decision about Columbia, or are you going to join us? So that moment made me recognize like, okay, I'm capable of doing all of that. But like, I think for a moment, I let people around me made me feel like, oh, what I did to myself, I might be out of any program because I applied for really competitive programs. So I had these moments of like underestimating who I am. I think for many reasons. One of them was like what people were saying. And the second reason was, yeah, like the identity, like I'm a hijabi woman. People might be like looking at my identity in a different way, but actually that was not the case. So sometimes we put ourselves in a position that we think people are thinking about us certain way, but it's not really true. So believing in yourself and what do you want to be supposed to be the power that always like drive you. And that's all what I have for this question, at least.
And I can just add, so we can move on. I'm just looking at my esteemed colleagues. I'm probably the oldest one of the panel. Just to let you know, I graduated from high school in 1976. So that tells you how old I am. And I would say the hardest challenge for me, but there have been many challenges over my 40-year career. What I've come to realize is that, there will always be challenges, and you just have to keep them in the perspective. And if you're focused on what you're trying to do, you'll overcome the challenge. But yeah, the imposter syndrome, even before it was labeled imposter syndrome back in the 70s, there was that feeling that you didn't belong. And in many cases, I probably didn't belong because and even now, when I look around some of the meetings that I'm in, I'm the only person of color, definitely the only African American, but I know that I'm there for a reason, and I have a job to do. And even this year was probably the highlight of my career, with the opportunity that the social justice movement allows. You can bet I'm taking advantage of it. I'm pushing every button and turning every page and trying to make a difference like I wasn't able to in the past. I just feel that life is just full of challenges, and if you're focused, if you're competent, you'll succeed.
Thank you, everyone. And then I guess a natural question following that would be, in those moments of challenge and struggle, what were some resources or communities or ways that you were able to support yourself?
Is that intended for any particular person?
No, for everyone.
Well, I can just continue. I relied heavily on my mentors. I think mentoring is very important. You'll need family and friends. You can't replace family and friends. If you have family you are close to, lean on your family and close friends. But when it comes to your career, I relied on mentors. Not one specific mentor, many mentors across the disciplines. If you're in medicine, you don't necessarily have to have a physician that's your mentor. If you do, that's great. But I recommend having many mentors and talk about it, talk about your challenges, talk about everything. Not to the extent that you're sharing confidential or information that you feel is inappropriate, but talk it out. The more sounding boards you have in your life, the better off you'll be. Because after a while, you're just not thinking clearly. You're not making the right decision simply because you're focused on the events of the day or the pressures of the day, and just having someone that you can lean on is helpful.
Those are all great suggestions. I'd like to add, a good therapist is always helpful. Not everybody has access, but if you do, that's really good. There are resource centers here on campus and at other places. We have cultural centers that are helpful for many things. As you move through into different parts of your career and life, you may have access to unions, and they can be tremendously helpful. And they have been to me. Other resources I've used are Twitter. I have so much community and Twitter, folks I've never met that have helped me to be able to survive things that people shouldn't have to go through. Because this is also about gender. This is really important to me and to lots of my students. I was so content warning assault, and please take care of yourself. If you need to mute the volume, do that. If you need to step away, do that. I'm happy to talk to anybody afterwards if you need it. 2 years, 3 weeks, and 3 days ago, I was assaulted at UIC Nursing by colleagues for trying to use a single person restroom, and because I'm a trans feminine person. And this is sort of what I mean when I say trans misogyny. The Title IX and Office of Access and Equity were complete failures. The only folks on campus who were helpful at all were the Women's Leadership Resource Center, the Gender and Sexuality Center, and I'm a member of the faculty union because in nursing, we have access to that. And then folks on Twitter. And that's about all I had. And these are really shitty things that can happen. And we don't have to be quiet about them at all. And I have not been. In fact, I just got released from the UIC's faculty union to be able to talk about this publicly. And if you go to my Twitter, I'll put it in the messaging. You can read it. It's pinned at the top. Community is really incredibly important. Incredibly important. And that can look like anything we want it to look like. You are all people with body minds that are valid and you exist in the world. And I'm here for all of you.
Thank you. And I'm really sorry to hear that that's the kind of thing that happens on campuses all the time. I guess another question that I had, and on behalf of everyone attending, would be for everyone, when you're looking for mentorship in a career setting or like academia, in an institution that you're a student at or you're working for, how or what kind of things do you look for? How do you know that this person is someone that I can trust, someone that I can talk to, someone that will support me, that kind of thing?
I can take this one, and thank you so much for sharing your experience. I think it's really important for people to know that all because, you know, if they don't hear about something, it isn't happening, and that awareness, and to know that there are, you know, there are support systems. You just sometimes have to create them. In terms of mentorship, one of the things that I learned kind of earlier on is everybody who should be for you isn't. So there may be, you know, like your advisor, you know, professor, whoever it is, and all because they're in this certain position doesn't mean they're actually going to, you know, give you the best advice or help you achieve your goals. So I think one of the things that Dr. Pendleton mentioned as well is mentorship. You want to have many different mentors. I'm in medicine, but I have mentors that are in applied health sciences who are, you know, one is like a computer science business CEO person, like, you know, totally unrelated to my field, but I think in mentorship, you want to first of all look for someone who wants to invest in you. Sometimes people are too busy. Sometimes they, I don't know, are very superficial or don't follow through on what they say they'll do for you. So find someone who wants to invest in you. Find someone who is willing to, I guess, connect you with opportunities and to connect you with a network. And then if possible, also find someone who you can also do something for them, whether that's you could help support them in their business, or someone who maybe you can do research with. Because when it comes to mentorship, it's not necessarily a one-way relationship, it's a two-way relationship. And so I think the best mentors are those people who can work with you, help you grow, but also you can support them in their work and kind of get some real life experience and help you develop professionally as well.
I can add to that what Dr. Jasmine just said. Like when we talk about mentors, from my understanding, the audience are like trying to be in the PhD or graduate school, right, Aisha?
Yeah,
So when
our
we
audience is
when we're
mainly undergraduates. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So when you're trying to go to a grad school, like to be in like PhD program or whatever, always ask previous people who were with that mentor, so you can get like the style of the mentorship that they had. It doesn't have to be good or bad sometimes, but some styles would work with you, some styles would not work with you. So ask about the mentoring style, ask about how was the relationship with the mentor and mentee was. I would look for the students who were with that mentor before and they graduated even like long time ago. It doesn't have to be like actual students or students who graduated recently from the program with that mentor, and ask them about their experience. This is one thing. The other thing is, like when you look for your PhD program and mentor, like make sure it fits what you want. Sometimes we lose the track because, okay, I just want to be accepted in the PhD program. And I had that experience before and I had to switch mentors, not because of the style or because of anything, but it did not work. The work that the first mentor I was working on did not fit what I wanted for my future. And I was focusing on being accepted at the PhD program more than what I want in the beginning. So I felt like I wasted a couple of years just like going around and seeing like what's going on, and it did not fit. I have to look for someone else who fit what I want. So like always look for what you want first and see if you fit in that lab or mentor or like program, more than being worried about being accepted. Because I think when we graduate from like undergrad or like master, when I go to the PhD program, we would be worried about acceptance more. I can't say more, but like that would be our focus. But actually it's way more than just being accepted to any program. So mentorship is like the core of the career if you want to go to in academia. I hope that was helpful.
And I don't really have, I guess, much to add. I would just say kind of like in any relationship, like any good relationship, there should be that, that chemistry, that natural, it's maybe not necessarily someone who's going to be your friend, but, you want it to be somebody that you feel comfortable approaching. You definitely want to give people more time than, let's say, like a week to write a letter of recommendation, but maybe somebody that you would feel comfortable, if you had to approach them for like a last minute request, that you could go to them. Again, it doesn't have to be somebody in your same field or with your, same interests, but somebody who can, I guess, talk, that you can talk to about your interests, and maybe, again, learn from what their field is or what their interests are. So I think just somebody that you can feel comfortable to talk to, because that's how this relationship is going to move forward, right? Is that you're going to be talking and emailing. And so you just want to make sure that it's somebody that you feel comfortable communicating with.
Thank you. And then with that being said, I guess we can talk a little bit about how you can look for mentors in the first place. So where do you go to find these people that will help you?
I mean, I'll just jump in and say, I think for the mentors I've had over the years, I probably didn't look for any of them. I think they were just people that, as I was moving through, my coursework, my research work, my work, my employment, they were those people that, like I was just mentioning, the chemistry was there. There was a sense of support from the person, and a feeling that, this is somebody who I can have in my corner. I can go to them with whatever it is I need, if I need advice, or if I need, their support for, again, like a letter of recommendation or something of that nature. It kind of just came into my path. I'm not really sure that there's anybody I ever sought out, except for something like, research, which if that's what you're doing, usually at your institution, right? Like at UIC, I'm sure there's like a list of different PIs and the kinds of projects that they're working on. And you can go through that listing to get a sense of, who would be potentially like a good sponsor for your research project that you're trying to do. But just more largely speaking, in terms of mentorship, I think it's more about taking the opportunity when you come across someone like a professor or an advisor or an employer, finding that person that seems to be like a good support, and then reaching out to them and cultivating that relationship.
And then I will also add, because you all are largely undergrads, something that could be a good starting point is like if you have a class and you're just like, yeah, I love this class, like this professor's so dope. Go to the office hours, like try to get to know them, and then, ask them explicitly. I think that's one thing, is like, don't be afraid to ask, for what you need, and say, hey, I'm interested in your work, or I learned so much, like I'm looking for a mentor. Would you be interested in mentoring me? And the other thing with mentorship is you want to establish clearly, like, here's what I'm looking for in this relationship. What time do you have for me? How do you think you can support me in, in XYZ? You kind of lay that out explicitly. And then another method that I started employing more in medical school, but I think it's still perfectly useful and at the undergraduate level, is don't be afraid to just like cold email someone. So I had a speaker at a seminar, like come to class or whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, this woman is exactly who I want to be when I grew up. I sent her an email and I said, I want to be you when I grow up. And then, because I don't know, I'm just like straightforward. And then in the email, I put, I would love to sit down and talk to you about how you got to where you were. People love to talk about themselves. So that's a great starting point if you want to build a relationship. Just say, hey, I want to hear about you. How did you get to where you are? People are like, oh yeah, I'll talk about myself. And then in the email, I put, here's some information about me. I was like, here's where I went to undergrad. Here's my major. This is my research interest. This is what I'm doing now. And by the way, here's my photo. So even though you've never met me, bang, bang. Like, you still got that connection, even though you've never met. So don't be afraid to just put yourself out there, because you never know. That'll allow you to kind of broaden your network. If there's someone at like a different institution or something that you really want to get to know because we're doing something you're interested in. So either way.
Yeah, I can add to that too. Like when I went to one of the interviews at Harvard, one of the professors was like a click for me. Oh, wow, this is exactly what I'm looking for. This person can shape my skills in a certain way. So I, like, after the interview, I emailed him, thanked him for seeing me, and we kept emailing back and forth for a year now. Like every once in a while I get an email from him saying, hey, what's up? What are you up for? Where did you end up? Did you start any program? I'm like, any question that would come up, he's in epidemiology and cancer, nutrition and cancer, like the core where I was interested in. So anything that would come up like that needs like advice from someone who can be like called mentor, I would email him and he will like respond right away. He doesn't have to be a mentor on daily or weekly basis, but in things that I really need help with in his domain, I would shoot him an email and he will respond like sometimes in a few minutes. So keep these relationships with people that you feel like that click with, because they will be a really, really good resource on the like for the future of the care in your career. And like you never know how you might not use that relationship, but like get benefits both ways from them. And also, like, I remember when I came to the US, I was so angry about like having to repeat some of the courses. And I came with a master's degree and I had to go back to undergrad, do some courses that I was not seeing a point from doing it. So I remember like being so nervous at the school where I did these courses. And I remember one of the tips that was like, I don't remember who said that, but it was at one of the seminars. And the woman who was presenting saying, never burn the bridge. And I think I learned that the hard way after I burned some bridges with these people, like who would be like, I would be seeing in like conferences and they would be around in my career. So like that was like a life-changing tip for me, like not worth it to burn the bridge with anyone. If you think or you don't think you will see them in your career, because they might be your boss one day and you might be their boss one day, and it happened. So just be careful with that. Burning the bridge would be one of the things that you definitely don't want to do. Like this is the opposite of mentoring, but like you might need their help one day as a mentor too. So keep that tiny bridge between people that you really don't like sometimes, because you might need them. Anyone want to add anything?
And then thank you, Faiza. And then another question that, and then we have a question in the chat. Were most of your mentors or most impactful mentors people you reached out to yourself, or people that expressed interest in you, either in your classes or your research?
I will jump into that. Most of the mentors I have, actually, I reached to them. My PhD mentor, Aisha knows her, like Krista Verdi. I was in her class one day and I felt, okay, this is the research I want to do. And I was already a PhD student with another like professor. So I reached out to her, like, I'm interested in your work. May I like get more involved? So I volunteered at her lab and I attended her journal club and I ended up her PhD student. Sometimes volunteering with someone would open the door to be closer and like to test their mentorship style. Or like, yeah, like reaching out to people would be, from my experience, would be the best way to be their mentees. But I don't know if other people have different experience.
Yeah, for me, yeah, it hasn't usually ever really come from reaching out to people. I've just been, I guess, really lucky along the way to kind of come across good people, professors who, you know, maybe noticed my performance in class and yeah, actually kind of called me into their office hours, like, oh, let's talk a little bit more about, you know, your goals. I've always been kind of shy when it comes to approaching people. So I've just been really fortunate to have people who kind of pulled me in, kind of along the same lines of what I was saying earlier about the self-doubt being me going in like, well, I know I can't do this. And people have really kind of been more of a cheerleader for me. So I would say I've been very lucky along the way, but I think, yeah, if you can't, I mean, you know, the nice thing is, again, we have email now, we have all these kind of easy ways of reaching out to people. So if you're not a person who fears rejection as much as I do, the potential for rejection, and it's not necessarily going to happen, reach out and see what happens. Maybe you'll get no response, or maybe you'll get a response, like a denial. They don't have the time or whatever. But there's always that opportunity, that chance that it can work out and that you can, develop something really, really amazing. So I would encourage you all to do that outreach, but I'll be honest and say that that wasn't my approach. I think I was just really fortunate.
And I want to add, before coming to the US, I remember sending a question to 28 professors, and I got only one response from UIC. And I ended up at UIC, but that was kind of discouraging, but that one email that UIC responded made it my path, and here we go. I finished my degree from there. So sometimes you might reach out to different people and you don't get response, but one response might be more than enough if you're looking for a certain thing. So don't get discouraged if people don't respond to your email, or if you're trying to contact them and they did not respond. Someone would respond.
And I can add to that. I think it's a little bit of both. Some mentors are identified organically. They just happen. You just know it. I think it was Dr. Arrington that said she saw this individual, and that individual was going to be her mentor, and she made a beeline to engage that person. And I think that's great when it happens that way. Some mentors you have to be strategic about. You may, as you go through life, let's say you're interested in pharmacy as a career, and you have all these mentors who are great mentors, but none of them are in pharmacy. Eventually, you have to find someone that's in your field, your industry, and so you have to be a little bit more strategic. I would not ignore any overtures or opportunities to engage in mentoring. If someone wants to help you along your journey, I would take them up on their offer, because as you don't want to burn any bridges. And it's going to take a village. It's not one individual mentor that's going to help you get from where you are now to where you'd like to be. So it's a little bit of both. You have to be strategic, but also it can happen organically. You know it when it happens, and you know that person is going to help you along the way, and you can take advantage of that opportunity.
Thank you, everyone. We're closing in on 7 p.m. Do any of the students that are here with us, do any of you have any questions? You can put that in the chat, or you can unmute yourself. Either is fine.
In the meantime, I just want to say something not related to academia, but it's for real life. When we were kids, we were looking at people who are in 20s and 30s as dinosaurs. Those people are really old. And now we are in 20s and 30s, and we look at ourselves oh, we're not that old. So remember that, and that would be applicable for most of the things in real life. These professors were in our shoes that one day, and now we're looking at them definitely up, but we see them the dinosaurs of academia maybe. But we will be in their stage one day, and they will be ahead of us too. So always think about the way these people are older than us, in age or academia or career, in a way that does not make us discouraged, oh, we can't be there, because we are the dinosaurs for kids now.
Thank you, Faiza. That was really good advice. I want to put this flyer back up on our screen in case anyone is interested in staying on for the next event at 7 to 8 with the American Medical Women's Association. But I wanted to also encourage students to, reach out to some of our speakers, because I'm sure that they would be also available and happy to talk to you if you have any questions after this event. And we have a few more minutes if anyone has any burning questions that they want to drop before we end. Or if any of our guests have anything else to say, that would be fine as well.
I would just say, be encouraged. If you really feel like you have a sense of purpose and something that's pushing you towards doing whatever it is you want to do, no matter how much the odds may seem to be against you, based on whatever stats are out there about, GPA or whatever versus odds of getting in. When you can really move forward with purpose, even if it takes a little longer, like I'm somebody who started medical school much later, I am a bona fide dinosaur for sure. Yeah, just be encouraged and continue walking in your purpose, and you'll get to where you need to go.
Okay, thank you everyone. And since we are recording this event, I will post that on our website later this week. So if anyone's interested in sharing with their friends or just rewatching later, you're more than welcome to. And we will also include the contact information for our speakers, if that's okay with all of you, when we follow up in an email. And if you're interested in reaching out to any of them, I'm sure they'd be happy to talk to all of you. And thank you for attending.
Thank you for having me, Aisha.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.